Okay, question 27, completing the square. We're going to take this 4 and throw it to the other side. So this is the one we're working on here. Y minus 4 equals 3x squared plus 5x. Okay. What's your b squared over 4a? 5 squared over 4 times 3. Give it to me as a fraction. I know you don't like fractions, but give it to me as a fraction. 25 over 12. 25 over 12. So we're going to add that value to both sides. Okay, so what do we end up with over here? How do you write 4 as a fraction involving 12 as a denominator? Come on, how many 12ths is that? Okay, folks, this is a trip down memory lane because that's over 1. 48, thank you very much. Okay, plus you're adding the 25 12ths, right? And you got the y. So how many 12ths are we talking about here? 25 take away 48. Yeah, you added. You need to subtract. Okay, you have the technology in your hands, or you should be using it somehow. Negative 23 over 12. Yep. Okay, now, out of these 3 terms, we're going to factor something. What are we going to factor out? We're going to factor out a 3. Now, and I probably need to erase this part over here just so I have room. So hopefully. You must factor out that value which is in front of the squared term. Now, I know in the problems that we did yesterday, it was a greatest common factor, but guess what? It ain't the greatest common factor now because there isn't any. And don't tell me 1. That's pretty cute. It is common to all of them, but, yeah, I asked kids that question. What's in common? It's a 1. I'm like, well, okay, that's not going to do much. I'm like, they do. I'm like, all right. That's a smart aleck kid. He's like, all right, so we are dividing everything by 3. Now, division is the same as multiplying by what? The reciprocal. So on this last one, instead of saying dividing by 3, I'm going to say multiply by 1/3. It'll probably just make your life easier if you think through it like that. So, yes, I get x squared, but the next one is 5/3 x. And what's the last one? 25 over what? 36, thank you. Good job. Now, this thing right here is a perfect square. What is it the perfect square of? This is where kids get frustrated, but what did we do with this number in order to find this one? We did something to it. What did we do to it? We went from a 6 to a 3, or from a 10 to a 5, or from an 18 to a 9. What are we doing? You're cutting it in half. So, what is half of 5/3? For those of you who don't know, I'll write it over here. What is half of 5/3? 5/6, thank you very much. Remember, division is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So now I need to get y by itself. Y equals 3 times the quantity x plus 5/6. Well, that's terrible. Plus 23/12. don't like fractions, but the process is not changing. It's the same process. It's just uglier numbers. Is there anything in there that you're confused about and need me to go over? Anything in there? Yes. Yes. And if you think that's a lot of work, wait till you get to college. Yes. Okay, the whole process of completing the square is so that we get a perfect square. Okay? So we started this thing out getting a perfect square when we started. The whole process of this b squared over 4a thing that we added to both sides, that gave me a perfect square. Now it was a little bit disguised because we had to pull out the 3. Once we pulled out the 3, boom, 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 we had our perfect square. But it's this key right here. That's why when we did our proof that you'll never have to do in your life, I showed you that b squared over 4a was the key. Once you did that and added that to both sides, you created something that had a perfect square in it. You just had to pull out that coefficient. Pulling it out doesn't mean you're dividing it. People get all caught up in the fact, oh, it's got fractions. Don't worry. Follow the process and you will win. I mean, it is the same steps, it's just uglier numbers. I know it looked a lot nicer yesterday when we had, things like 6